Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to the Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a wife, a busy mom of three, and the founder of the cutting-edge supplement brand, Accelerated Health Products. This podcast is more than just a source of information. It's a community for those seeking to optimize their health. So welcome, and I'm so excited you're listening. I release new episodes every Mondays and Tuesdays, and now Mondays have been moved to noon on noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So remember to subscribe and add to your playlist so you never miss a show. You can, of course, watch them later and join my free health group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. The details can be found on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. My goal is to reach everyone on earth with my message of healing. So help me with this goal. I cannot do it alone. By sharing this podcast with your friends and loved ones. And together we can empower each other on our journey to optimize health. Today we are talking about understanding nitric oxide. What is it? Nitric oxide is like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Not too much, not too little. You just want the right amount. And with that said, most of you are low in nitric oxide, and it's considered one of the most imperative molecules produced by the body. It controls oxygen and nutrient delivery to every cell, controls cellular communication, and acts as an antimicrobial to protect the body from pathogens. Right now, we are under severe threat, and we've talked about it, about all of the things, right? The food supply has been hijacked. We've got the spike protein. We've got the toxins, the heavy metals. We have so much we're fighting against, and that's only making things worse. And the decline in nitric oxide is known as the primary thing causing most, if not all, chronic diseases. So then you have to go back to this nitric oxide. It's all of those things are probably affecting nitric oxide as well. So this is mostly affecting your cardiovascular health, which is the leading cause of mortality worldwide. The body typically generates nitric oxide through two pathways. One involves the conversion of the amino acid L-arginine, which is why a lot of supplements have that in it. But this process is impeded by factors such as aging, oxidative stress, poor diet, lack of exercise, smoking, diabetes, and a high sugar diet. And you've heard me talk about the fact that the spike protein, the processed foods, and the fact that we've all become sedentary from the pandemic, all of those things are making our aging worse, right? So they're also affecting our nitric oxide. And then the second pathway relies on nitrate and nitrite naturally presented in certain foods. And each pathway contributes to approximately 50% of the overall nitric oxide production, with one compensating for the other. Now, we've also talked about the fact that a lot of our food supply and our soils are completely depleted. You could have celery from California that has a whole different level of that nitrite than celery from Montana or on the East Coast. So you don't even know what you're getting. The nitric oxide production from both pathways becomes totally inhibited from different factors, and we're going to go through that. So what are some facts? Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator that helps keep your arteries open and clean from plaque buildup. It's made by every cell in the body, but production declines by 10 to 12% per decade, beginning in your early 20s. And at the age of 40, the body only makes 50% of what it used to. Low nitric oxide production is also associated, like we talked about, with major cardiovascular risk factors, prescription drugs, mainly proton pump inhibitors and the NSAIDs and the cholesterol lowering statin drugs. How many of you are on any of those, right? That is blocking the production of nitric oxide. So let's think about this for a second. Nitric oxide inhibition is also related to erectile dysfunction. We're going to talk about that. It's critical for optimal sexual function. So you are trying to take care of your acid reflux or your pain with some Advil or ibuprofen, or you're on a cholesterol lowering statin drug and you can't get it up in the bedroom, right? So there is a downside to these drugs. Low nitric oxide production is due to the inability to convert L-arginine into nitric oxide. So products that contain that L-arginine or L-citrulline are not always effective at restoring your levels. It also helps lower high blood pressure and improves your anti-aging properties. What are the causes? Naturally, like we mentioned, aging is a problem. Well, how do we get around that, right? The natural aging process is associated with the decline in nitric oxide production. And as you age, the efficiency of the enzymes involved may decrease so that you are going to have lower nitric oxide levels. Oxidative stress. Oxidative stress caused by an imbalance between the free radicals and the antioxidants in the body are going to cause nitric oxide decline. And like I said, what are the causes of oxidative stress? Well, the spike protein on its own is increasing oxidative stress. The toxins, the heavy metals, the lead, the mercury, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine in our water, the processed foods, just stress in general. How stressed are you? Most people have an increased level of perceived stress. Just not being outside, not working out, not moving your body. All of those things are increasing that oxidative stress, which is going to decrease your nitric oxide. Poor diet, not just a diet full of the wrong foods, but when you're eating all of those wrong foods, they're lacking in essential nutrients, right? If you're eating Twinkies, you're not getting in your vitamin C, for instance. However, you also are stealing a lot of the good nutrients from your body. So you're not just not getting stuff in the diet, but you're actually stealing nutrients from the diet. And you're also probably not getting those amino acids like L-arginine and antioxidants, and that's going to negatively impact your nitric oxide production. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, they can support nitric oxide, but like I mentioned, the soils are so depleted that most people are not getting the nitric oxide they need from their foods and their vegetables and their fruits. A lack of physical exercise. Physical activity has been shown to enhance overall health, right? Mental, mood, and weight management, and all of these things. Well, also it helps with nitric oxide production. And what's so awesome is that you actually need nitric oxide to perform better, and that exercise helps produce nitric oxide. Sedentary lifestyles are going to make your levels of nitric oxide lower. And after the pandemic, everyone was inside. They were getting used to working at home, living at home, not going outside. And we're having a hard time getting back into it, right? You gotta move your body. I have people that say, Sara, I'm taking all of your supplements. I'm cleaning up my diet and I can't lose any more weight. You gotta move your body. It increases fat oxidation. It helps with all of the anti-aging mechanisms. Smoking. I feel like we shouldn't even talk about smoking because it's not really a big thing anymore. Everyone knows it's bad for you. Well, one more reason, it contains harmful chemicals that can damage blood vessels and impair the function of enzymes involved in nitric oxide synthesis. So it is a huge thing that contributes to low nitric oxide levels. Now, that's tobacco with the harmful chemicals. We're not talking about nicotine. That's a whole nother discussion. There are a lot of benefits to nicotine alone if it's clean without all the chemicals from the tobacco. Antiseptic mouthwash. Here you are, you're swishing your mouth with some mouthwash, thinking you're doing a good job. You've got fresh breath, so you're not going to smell around the people you love. Well, nitrate, a compound found in certain foods like leafy greens, is converted into nitrite by the bacteria in your mouth. Nitrite, in turn, can be converted into nitric oxide, and that helps with your overall nitric oxide levels. So what we're finding is that using that antibacterial mouthwash, which kills the bacteria in the mouth, is going to disrupt the conversion of the nitrate to nitrite. And this is because the mouthwash eliminates the bacteria responsible for this conversion. So what should you swish your mouth with instead of? Instead, my accelerated colloidal silver kills all the bad bacteria in there, right? And helps naturally, but you're then not going to kill those good bacteria. And the conversion of nitrate to nitric oxide is disrupted. It's going to lead to those lower levels of nitric oxide production in the body. Okay. Acid reflux medication, like I mentioned, those PPIs. Nitric oxide is vital for maintaining healthy endothelial function, which is the ability of blood vessels to dilate and regulate blood flow, moving, right? Those PPIs will affect the nitric oxide production. It contributes to endothelial dysfunction, which is linked to cardiovascular disease, and it plays a role in regulating the motility of the gastrointestinal tract. Some studies suggest that the PPIs are going to impact that motility by affecting the nitric oxide levels and leading to issues like delayed gastric emptying. So nitric oxide is very connected to the gut, like everything. If we don't have a healthy gut, we're not absorbing the nutrients from the soils that are already depleted. And we know that. We're not converting that food into energy, which is what is the main cause of weight gain and chronic disease. Well, it's also affecting the nitric oxide production. And so you've got to take care of your gut. And it just always comes back to the gut. Medical conditions such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, they are all associated with impaired nitric oxide production. And inflammation and endothelial dysfunction play a role in all of these conditions, affecting nitric oxide synthesis. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? High sugar diet. We know excess sugar is not good for you, right? Especially processed foods. Especially the refined carbohydrates. They contribute to insulin resistance, metabolic dysfunction, and that's going to impact your nitric oxide production. Genetic variations can also influence the activity of enzymes involved in the nitric oxide synthesis, but we can't do anything about that, right? So let's focus on the things that we can control. Sunlight exposure. Sunlight exposure is so good for so many things, mood and weight management and vision and well, it's also amazing for nitric oxide. Sunlight exposure helps the skin produce nitric oxide, and a lack of exposure, especially in regions where you don't get as much, that's going to show people are going to have a lower level of nitric oxide levels. Iodine deficiency. Iodine deficiency is the number one reason for mitochondrial failure. And the mitochondrial are responsible for nitric oxide and other redox molecule production. Iodine, iodine, iodine. We're going to go into more of that in a minute. But as you are probably becoming a little more aware that the ketogenic diet isn't all what it cracked up to be, People were on vegan diets, vegetarian diets, the carnivore diet, low carb diet, paleo diet, all of these diets, right? It's getting confusing because there are people now coming out like Jay Feldman and Ray Peets, Dr. Mercola, saying you need your carbs and you shouldn't be on a low carb diet. What everyone is trying to get to is improving ATP and mitochondrial health. How do you increase ATP? How do you teach your body to convert the food you're eating, whether it's a carb, a fat, or a protein, and convert it into ATP and energy? Because if you're eating, and you have no energy, that doesn't make sense, right? Something's not working. Your mitochondrial are broken. They're not working. Well, the number one reason for mitochondrial failure is iodine deficiency. So start there. Whether you're on a vegan diet or a carnivore diet or a high processed food diet, which you shouldn't be on, everyone does agree to get rid of the processed foods. Our parents' generation, they didn't have a weight issue. Why? They weren't talking about carnivore diets. They weren't talking about vegan diets or low carb. They were eating real food. They were eating real carbs, real protein, and real fats. And they were not eating toxins and GMOs and glyphosate and high fructose corn syrup and all of these seed oils and all of these processed things that our body doesn't even know or recognize as food that steals ATP. So I just want to really drive that home, because regardless of what kind of diet you're on, the goal is to increase mitochondrial health. The number one way to do that is through iodine. And we'll talk about it a little more in a minute. Okay, so what are the symptoms of nitric oxide deficiency? Low nitric oxide, you will have those cardiovascular symptoms, hypertension, high blood pressure. Nitric oxide helps relax the blood vessels, contributing to lower blood pressure. Reduced nitric oxide levels will help increase vascular resistance and elevated blood pressure. Now, thinking about that, the spike protein on its own is causing vasoconstriction. That's why we're hearing about all of these heart problems in the body or in the country, right? The spike protein also increases antidiuretic hormone, aldosterone, which is a stress hormone, water and sodium retention, oxidative stress, inflammation, insulin dysregulation, hormonal imbalance. So I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming that the spike protein some way is probably reducing the nitric oxide in the body. It just seems to figure that all of the things that the spike protein does is the same as a symptom of nitric oxide deficiency. Poor circulation. If you don't have enough nitric oxide, it's going to affect the blood vessel dilation and impair blood flow, leading to symptoms such as cold extremities in your hands and your feet and poor circulation, erectile dysfunction. Nitric oxide is crucial for the dilation of blood vessels in the genital area. So go for increasing nitric oxide before you get on Viagra, and that's how Viagra actually works, by the way. That will, if you have low nitric oxide, you are going to have difficulty achieving or maintaining an erection. Exercise intolerance. So nitric oxide plays a role in increasing blood flow to muscles during exercise. Low nitric oxide levels may reduce or result in decreased exercise tolerance and performance. So what's funny is my daughters are on a rowing team, and at nationals last year, the men's coach had all of the guys drink tons of beet juice because beets are known to increase nitric oxide in the body. Well, one of them couldn't handle it so well and had to get rid of it. But they were drinking a ton of beet juice because they are trying to increase their nitric oxide. So whether you are a woman in her 50s or 60s just trying to manage her cardiovascular issues, or you're a college athlete that's trying to have peak performance, nitric oxide is going to play a role. It will play a role in your immune system. So if you have nitric oxide is a signaling molecule to the immune or in the immune system, and it helps with pathogens. So low levels will impair your immune function and increase your susceptibility to infections. Endothelial dysfunction, which we've talked about, nitric oxide is really important for. And that's without it, it will cause endothelial dysfunction, which is then associated with your cardiovascular issues. Shortness of breath. So nitric oxide plays a role in regulating your airway dilation. And I can tell you, when I take the nitric oxide lozenge, I do it during my workout in the morning, and I can feel my airways open up. It's actually quite impressive. Digestive issues. Nitric oxide is involved in regulating gastrointestinal motility and blood flow. So that's going to be very important. And just general fatigue. If you have low levels, you're just going to be tired. It's going to affect your oxygen delivery to your tissues and give you that feeling of fatigue and weakness. So I want to really stress the fact that the spike protein is going to make things even more difficult to get our health, right? And you have this ACE2 receptor that is being affected, and that is going to cause vasoconstriction, fibrosis, increased in that antidiuretic hormone, aldosterone, which is your stress hormone, water and sodium retention, oxidative stress, inflammation, fibroids, insulin dysregulation, hormonal imbalance. So all of those things are also associated with nitric oxide production. And it is the ACE2 receptor is expressed in the small intestine, the ovaries and testes, lungs, cardiovascular system, brain, kidneys, and gut. All of those things are related to or are affected by nitric oxide. So what do you do for this, right? What do we do for this? We talked about iodine. Well, the accelerated iodine. And I'm super excited because Dr. Brownstein, who is the guru in iodine and has been, I've had a lot of people come to me and say, Sara, you are telling us we should be taking a lot more iodine than Dr. Brownstein. Well, Dr. Brownstein just came out and said because of the influx of the toxicity, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine, all of the lead and mercury and the radiation, everything that we're being exposed to, he has increased his recommendations for dosage to what I recommend. And I'm super excited he's coming on our show, and we'll talk all things about iodine and salt and the importance of it. But the mitochondria are responsible for nitric oxide production, and iodine strengthens mitochondrial health, increases ATP by 18 times. Not 18%, 18 times. Iodine deficiency is the number one cause of mitochondrial failure, and 96% of the population is iodine deficient. It is no longer in our soils. It is no longer in our food. It's not really even in our iodized salt anymore. And most of that iodized salt not only has iodine that is toxic, but the salt is full of microplastics. So here you are taking in toxins, and you're trying to take the iodine to kick out the toxins. It doesn't work that well. So by increasing your iodine stores in the body, the mitochondria can optimally produce nitric oxide. And accelerated iodine is the only single atom of iodine that is 100% bioavailable to all 100 trillion cells in the body. Most iodines are coming from radioactive and toxic sources in Asia, polluted by Chernobyl and Fukushima. And this accelerated iodine comes from the deep mines in South America, untouched by modern man. and it is enhanced with scalar frequencies to help detox the thyroid and all the cells of radiation and toxins that inhibit nitric oxide production. So that is the number one supplement. And it is also the number one supplement for weight loss, for energy, for brain health, for depression. Why? Because of ATP. And it doesn't matter what diet you're on. The goal is to increase mitochondrial health and ATP. Because if your ATP is suppressed, if your mitochondrial health is depressed, you're going to get sick more often. You're going to be fatigued. Your adrenals are going to be tapped. You are not going to be able to handle the stressors in life. You're going to have perceived stress through the roof. You're going to bite the head off of your child when she just asks for something simple because you're so tired and you're just trying to get through the next day. That's not what life's about. You want to get that true cellular energy, not from the coffee, not from the Monster drink, not from the doses of caffeine in the afternoon. You shouldn't need a nap in the afternoon, right? You should have enough energy that is steady throughout the day. And that is coming from your ATP. So when you are learning and taking in all of the stuff that I'm talking about, you want to always go back to your mitochondrial health, ATP. It's not about carbs, fat, protein. Some of it is, but it's about what am I doing to fix my mitochondrial health so that my body is working like a machine. And that includes nitric oxide production. Okay, the second supplement is the accelerated scalar copper. Now, everyone is so depleted of copper. Why? Well, we've got the processed foods that accelerate copper depletion out of the body. And then you've got the spike protein that accelerates copper depletion out of the body. So that spike protein is affecting us again, and it's affecting nitric oxide as well. And over the pandemic, everyone was supplementing with zinc because that's good for your immune system. Well, zinc and copper compete with each other. So as your zinc increases, your copper will decrease. You need both of them, and that's why it's important to take both. But copper plays a role in the synthesis and function of nitric oxide in the body. Nitric oxide, as I mentioned, is a signaling molecule involved in various physiological processes. But how is copper related? Nitric oxide is synthesized by enzymes called nitric oxide synthesis, NOS, and copper serves as a cofactor for these enzymes, supporting their activity in the conversion of the amino acid L-arginine to nitric oxide. Copper is that hidden key. It's the unsung hero, for instance. It helps with that fat burning. It helps with unlocking the door to let the iron get to where it needs to go for energy, to get rid of the anemia. It's not about iron. You guys have enough iron in your body. It's just in all the wrong places. Well, once more, this copper is that unsung hero. It helps support the activity. It's that enzyme that is making that conversion. Copper is involved in the catalytic activity of NOS, facilitating that conversion of L-arginine to nitric oxide and citrulline. And this process occurs in all tissues, including blood vessels, where the nitric oxide plays a key role in regulating the blood flow and the vascular tone. It is also associated with mitochondrial function. Copper is, and nitric oxide produced within the mitochondria may influence cellular respiration and energy production. Once again, mitochondria and ATP health, right? Okay, so here is what I take in the morning when I get on my rowing machine or I start to take my dogs for a little run. The N101 nitric oxide lozenges, you just stick it in your mouth and you let it just dissolve. You don't chew it because the whole idea is for it to go slowly. Nitric oxide is here and there in a millisecond, right? So it's one of those things that doesn't get stored up in the body. What these lozenges do is they have a sophisticated delivery system designed to offer an external supply of that nitric oxide. Dr. Nathan Bryan is the genius behind this. And make sure you look out for our interview coming up. And it helps boost that nitric oxide production, improve the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the cells, promotes your cardiovascular health, helps with heart function, and enhances the blood circulation and blood pressure, helps with blood flow to the brain and the other organs. Remember, if you're not getting enough blood flow to the brain, you're probably experiencing brain fog or depression or lack of motivation. So you've got to have that blood flow, not just to your extremities, but to your brain. It helps provide antioxidant support, cognitive function and memory, and may help with erectile dysfunction. Now, the other option is the NO beets. Now, if you've heard me talk about oxalates, you know that I'm not a fan of beets because they're very high in oxalates. But Dr. Nathan Bryan is a genius. He's providing the full power of beets without the dangerous oxalates found in other beet formulas and without beet juice, right? And it not only helps increase nitric oxide, but also increases ATP and rejuvenates each cell in the body. It has potassium and sodium, zinc, magnesium, D, C. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. And then peak ATP. So it's going to help with your ATP production. So really great two supplements to help enhance your performance in your nitric oxide production. Okay, so those are the supplements. But like I said, in all, so many times before, is that you have to incorporate your lifestyle changes. You can't just incorporate supplements and eat crappy food and not move. It doesn't work like that. So what are you going to do first? You got to stop the acid reflux medication. Maintaining optimal endothelial function is essential for the dilation and regulation of blood vessels. And the proton pump inhibitors, and I've got family members who take these, have the potential to influence nitric oxide production and will cause endothelial dysfunction and cause heart issues. And there's a way around it. And even on those proton pump inhibitor boxes, there are side effects. And they do say you should only use them for a week or two max. A lot of people are using them ongoing. And even your doctor will say that's not good. Nitric oxide is involved in controlling the motility of the gastrointestinal tract. How many of you have digestive issues? Well, research is showing that these PPIs are going to affect that motility and affect your nitric oxide levels and result in complications due to delayed gastric emptying. Well, here we are taking PPIs for our GERD or our acid reflux, and it's affecting our digestion in a negative way. I talk about GERD. You can definitely go to SaraBantaHealth.com and find the article that I talk about exploring supplements that alleviate GERD. It's also about your diet, the processed foods, the acidity foods. Those are all going to cause issues for your digestion and your GERD symptoms. So you also can use a supplement called net acid, or just put a little pinch of baking soda in your water, and that's going to help with your acid reflux. Free tip: ditch the mouthwash. Research indicates that the use of those mouthwashes are going to cause interference with the conversion of nitrate to nitrite. And so this is going to inhibit your nitric oxide production. Your mouth is crucial. Oral health is crucial. And so nitric oxide is really important for the healthy blood vessels and your cardiovascular system, as we've talked about. So you got to get rid of the mouthwash and ditch the fluoride toothpaste for so many reasons. But one more is that fluoride is going to inhibit your nitric oxide production. But remember, fluoride is a halogen, just like iodine. If all of us are iodine deficient, right? Then what is filling all 100 trillion cells receptor sites for iodine? What is filling those receptor sites? Fluoride, bromide, and chlorine. So when you're deficient in iodine, that fluoride is going right into those receptor sites, causing breast cancers, causing all types of cancers or chronic diseases. So that's why another reason that you want to ditch the fluoride toothpaste, don't get the fluoride treatment at the dentist, but you also use the acceleradine iodine to make sure that you're filling those receptor sites with the right iodine, and then your body won't hold on to those molecules of fluoride, bromide, and chlorine. Not in the toothpaste, because you're going to throw that out. But we're going to get fluoride in some of the waters that we're drinking and our foods and the other toxins that we have no control over. So that's why the iodine is so important. Exercise. So many reasons. It increases BDNF and helps with depression. It helps with autophagy, the cleaning up of the diseased and damaged cells in the body. It helps with muscle tone and weight loss and fat oxidation and blood sugar levels, all of these things, right? Well, it also improves nitric oxide production. So how? Physical activity, particularly aerobic exercise and resistance training, stimulates the production of nitric oxide, and the increased demand for blood flow to work muscles triggers the release of nitric oxide to dilate the blood vessels, improving oxygen and nutrient delivery. So nutrient delivery, here we are eating food and then we're just sitting on the couch. We need that nutrients to be delivered to all the cells. Well, exercise and moving your body is going to help that. It will improve endothelial function. It is, we know that it's essential for nitric oxide release, and endothelial cells contribute to the optimal nitric oxide synthesis, supporting your cardiovascular health. So it's like this, what came first, the chicken or the egg? They support each other. Nitric oxide is going to make you exercise better. Exercise is going to improve your nitric oxide. So the blood pressure regulation is also improved with exercise, and exercise-induced nitric oxide production contributes to maintaining that healthy blood pressure. And exercise stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis. Here we are again with mitochondria. Mitochondria is what we want. That is the goal for anti-aging, for skin health, for hair health, for physical body, for immune system, for everything. And mitochondria play a role in that nitric oxide production, which is going to increase and improve with exercise. Exercise has an anti-inflammatory effect and can reduce that oxidative stress that we're being bombarded with. And this is going to, in turn, support nitric oxide function and protect us from degrading, our whole body degrading, essentially, due to inflammation and oxidative damage. Inflammation and oxidative damage are the what accelerate aging. Endurance and performance improve. It helps improve blood flow, oxygen delivery facilitated by nitric oxide, and that's going to help with endurance and exercise performance. So lots of information about nitric oxide. I want to go back to something that we touched on, that the goal is ATP, right? The goal is mitochondrial health. Well, these toxins that we are being bombarded with in a day of, the year of 2024, that wasn't here in the 1960s. These are what kills our ATP and our mitochondria. Okay, we've got the air pollution. We've got the water contamination. We've got the processed foods. And regardless if you're a high carb person or a low carb person, processed foods are going to steal ATP from the body. Okay. And that is what is accelerating the disease in the United States. It kills your mitochondria and your ATP. The heavy metals, lead, mercury, arsenic, all of those are going to accumulate in the body, leading to lots of health issues, lowering ATP, lowering your detox pathways are being clogged. Your liver cannot process all that I'm talking about. That's why you got to love your liver, and you got to do the detox cleanses to cleanse your liver, cleanse your detox pathways, open them up. So we got to get rid of these toxins that are inhibiting ATP production and mitochondrial health. And then we're going to feed our body with the right nutrients. So the heavy metals, the EMFs, and the radiation. We've got these cell phones that are 5G. They've got 5G on them. We've got our computers, the 5G towers, the smart meters. All of that is killing our ATP and our mitochondrial health. We've got the spike protein. I talked a lot about that. That is killing our ATP, and it's causing increased oxidative stress, insulin dysregulation, so many things. Pesticides, chemicals, even in makeup and face stuff, all of that stuff, you're putting this makeup and these washes on your face. Your skin is your largest organ. All of that is compromising your liver and your detox pathways. GMOs and glyphosate. That wasn't around when our parents were growing up. That is what is disrupting our absorption of our food and our gut. The glyphosate, the industrial chemicals and toxins, the smoking, which we've mentioned, alcohol, microplastics. Okay, so all of those things are clogging our bodies so that we can't make that ATP, and our mitochondrial health is declining. What we are eating, we might be thinking we are eating these healthy foods. They're disrupting our pathways as well. Sulfur is in broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale. These are linked to diseases like Crohn's disease, colitis, mental health issues, arthritis. And I'm going to go into this a lot more down the road, but that is clogging, backing up your liver. So your liver's then not able to get the toxins that I just mentioned out. And then it's going to lower your ATP and your mitochondrial health and your NO production, right? Okay, so then you've got the oxalates. Oxalates are in kale and in spinach, in almonds, and they're causing arthritic problems, hypothyroidism, brain fog, autoimmune issues, urinary tract infections. And the spike protein is causing more oxalate production in the body. And then this is clogging the liver up again. So our ATP and our mitochondrial health are declining. So these are healthy foods that could be causing your weight gain or your inflammation. The wrong fats. So if our livers are blacked up, we can't metabolize fat very well. So these high ketogenic diets, high fat diets, are becoming too heavy for our bodies and our filters to break down and use those fats for energy. So the wrong fats are also part of the problem. And the seed oils, everyone would agree those seed oils that were not part of the diet 50 years ago are causing issues. The amyloid proteins. Chicken used to be a great source of protein. Amyloid proteins are now in chicken, conventionally raised beef, other poultry, and our body can't break them down because our liver is compromised. So this is also going to take down our system. If our system is so overburdened by these things, it's not going to have the ability to produce more ATP and keep that mitochondrial health up. And then you've got histamines. I've never had issues with histamines in the past. I do now, thanks to that spike protein. And you might have headaches, digestive issues, skin reactions, fatigue. All of that is causing inflammation in the body and compromising your overall health, right? So the spike protein, again, is causing those symptoms to be worse. And what's so great is that you can eliminate those foods. Focus on the foods in my accelerated food guide. It's at sarabantahealth.com. And I talk all about this in my group coaching. So make sure you join there as well. And you get to the foods that might have tons of carbs in them, might have the healthy fats or the right proteins, and you are not counting calories, and the weight and the inflammation are just falling off because you're increasing that ATP, you're increasing your mitochondrial health, and you're feeding your body what it wants and what it can absorb. So thanks for tuning in today. I hope this was helpful. Lots of information. If you're needing my help with your health concerns, you can contact me through my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you. And like I mentioned, join my free Telegram health group coaching. There's no downside. I share daily tips and tools to improve your health, surrounded by a community of people who are on a similar path to better health. And you'll not only gain valuable support, but you will take charge of your health. So more information is on the website, SaraBantaHealth.com. Don't forget to follow me on social media, Accelerated Health Products, and you can catch this podcast and all of my podcasts on over 100 platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Just search Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm on a mission, and I need your help to share my healing message with everyone who is ready to listen. So please help me with that goal. Share this podcast with a few of your friends who might benefit from listening. And remember, I'm live every Monday and Tuesdays. Be sure to visit acceleratedhealthproducts.com for all of the supplements we talked about. And you can use coupon WELCOME10 to get 10% off your first order. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.